4.8, use the quadratic formula and discriminant. You guys know the quadratic formula. You've done it since Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Just going to continue to practice and continue to get better at it. You know the song probably. X equals opposite b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So use that formula to solve and solve a quadratic. The good thing about quadratic formula is it will work every single time, no matter what. All the other ways we've learned have its drawbacks. Sometimes they're a little bit simpler than quadratic formula, but this one always works no matter what. Okay, so first thing you gotta do is set e equals 0. So we have to subtract 2. Subtract 2, so we get x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. Then we have to, if you want to write out your a, b, and c, you can. A equals 1. B equals 3, C equals -2. So then we do x equals opposite b, which 3 is b, so -3, plus or minus square root, b squared, which is 3, so 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is -2, all over 2 times a, so 2 times 1. And that's how you set it up. You just plug in numbers into the quadratic formula above. Then you simplify from there. Plug it in and simplify. So you got x equals -3 plus or minus 3 squared is 9. -4 times 1 times -2 is +8, all over 2 times 1, which is 2. Then we simplify further. X equals -3 plus or minus square root of 17. All over 2. And from here, technically, you could leave it like this. If you wrote this on the test as your answer, I would count this right because 17 can't simplify, and neither of those numbers are divisible by 2. If you want to split it apart, I guess it's a little more precise. If you split it apart and write it as x equals -3 over 2 plus or minus square root of 17 over 2. But either way works. I'll count either as the right answer. But that would be your answer. Moving on. Okay. Solve an equation with one real solution. Okay. You could also solve this by factoring, and it'd probably be a lot quicker, but we're going to do this by quadratic formulas. So the first thing I do is set equals 0. I would subtract 12x from both sides and add 9. And I know I'm doing this out of order, but we get 25x squared. -18x minus 12x is -30x, and then plus 9 equals 0. Yeah, because this is a perfect square trinomial. And if it's a perfect square trinomial, it's only going to have one answer. But we're still going to use quadratic formula to solve it just because we're getting practice for that. So we do ABC, that'd be A, that'd be B, that'd be C. So we do x equals opposite b, so 30 plus or minus square root b squared -30 squared minus 4 times a, which is 25, times c, which is 9, all over 2 times a, which is 25. Okay, so bigger numbers on this one than the other one. Then we just simplify. So we got 30 plus or minus 30 squared, 9 times 9, or 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 zeros, that's 900, minus 4 times 25 times 9 is 900, so minus 900. And every time you have one real solution, which it says at the top, you should end up with two numbers minus each other that cancel out. Any kind of perfect square trinomial, those two numbers should cancel out. So you end up with 900 minus 900, which is 0. You got x equals 30 plus or minus square root of 0 over 50. And then you have x equals 30 plus or minus square root of 0 is 0 over 50. Well, it doesn't matter whether it's 30 plus 0 or 30 minus 0, it's just 30. So you end up with 30 over 50, which reduces down to 3/5. and that would be your one real solution. So if it's a perfect square trinomial, obviously that's not the fastest way to solve that. Factoring is the fastest way to solve that, but you can solve that by quadratic formula. You should only get one answer. Okay, imaginary solutions. Now, they have a negative x squared right there. I prefer to make my x squared positive when I do this, so probably what I'm going to do is move everything to the right side. So I'm going to add x squared and subtract 4x, add x squared, subtract 4x. So I get 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. I forgot my x. Okay, so then that's our A, B, C. We got x equals opposite b, so that'd be 4, plus or minus square root, b squared, so negative 4 squared. Remember, whenever it's a negative and you're plugging this in, make sure if you're using your calculator, put parentheses around the negative, otherwise it'll mess up your answer. So negative 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5 all over 2 times 1. I'm going to rewrite it. X equals 4 plus or minus square root. Negative 4 squared is 16. Negative 4 times 1 times negative 5 is negative 20. All over 2. Then we keep going. X equals 4 plus or minus square root of negative 4 over 2. Okay? Now, what's the square root of negative 4? You can't take square root of negative unless you represent it with an I. So square root of 4 is 2. The square root of negative is I, so that's going to be 2i. So we're going to write it as x equals 4 plus or minus 2i over 2. Now, at this point, both of those are divisible by 2, so you can simplify it this way by doing 4 divided by 2, which is 4 divided by 2, which is 2, plus or minus 2i divided by 2, which is I. So the answer will be 2 plus or minus I, or 2 plus I and 2 minus I will be your answer on that one. So basically, what we're going to get to is if the part underneath the radical is negative, then it's an imaginary solution, or you have 2 imaginary solutions. If the part underneath the radical is 0, you have 1 real solution. If the part underneath the radical is positive, you have 2 real solutions. Let's see here. Okay. So this graph pretty much just shows what we just said. The part underneath the radical is called discriminant. It determines how many solutions you have and what type of solutions. For some reason, every year people mess this up on the test, and I don't think it's that difficult. You do b squared minus 4ac. If the part underneath the radical is positive, you have 2 real, 0, 1 real, and negative 2 imaginary. So if I ever ask a question that says, give me the number and type of solutions of the quadratic function, you have to say, you know, either 2 is the number and real is how many, or is the type, or 2 imaginary or 1 real. So let's look at these real quick. We got b squared minus 4ac. So b is a, b, c. So b squared is negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 17. That would be 64 minus 4 times 17 is 68. That means it's negative 4. So the discriminant would be negative 4. And then the number and type of solutions you would write is 2 imaginary, because you write 2 imaginary because you got a negative discriminant. Let's go to the next one. You got x squared minus 8x plus 16. So that's your A, B, C. So we do b squared negative 8 squared. Make sure you always put parentheses around negative. Minus 4 times 1 times 16. So we have 64 minus 64, which is equal to 0. So if you end up with 0, then you have 1 real solution. 1 real solution. Okay. And the last one, even though I'm running out of room, we're going to make this work. We got x squared minus 8x plus 15. So A, B, C, x, or X. So we have negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1 times 15. That makes 64 minus 60, because you multiply all those together, you get 60, and that gives you 4. If you have a positive number underneath the radical, or a positive discriminant, then you have 2 real solutions. So you write 2 real solutions. And that's pretty much it for a discriminant. That's how you do those. Okay. Don't make it hard and nasty. It's part underneath the radical is the b squared minus 4ac part. So just solve that, and then if it's negative, 2 imaginary. If it's 0, it's 1 real, and if it's positive, it's 2 real. Okay. Modeling launched objects, you'll get these problems sometimes. Basically what it says, we did the dropped objects, but if they give you initial vertical or initial velocity and initial height, you can do a dropped object. So let's say a juggler tosses the ball in the air. Ball leaves the juggler's hands at 4 feet above the ground. So that's the initial height. And has an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. So that's the initial. All right. And Joe catches the ball when it falls back to a height of 3 feet. So height is equal to 3. The final height. Plot how long is the ball in the air. So we're trying to find t. So how to write that is 4 or 3 equals negative 16 t squared plus 40 t plus 4. Okay, and if we want to use quadratic formula to solve this, then we got to subtract 3 from both sides. That wasn't 3. So we got to set equals 0, right? 0 equals negative 16 t squared plus 40 t plus 1. Then we have it set equals 0. We can write ABC, and we can start solving. So we have x equals opposite b, negative 40, plus or minus square root, 40 squared minus 4 times 16 times 1, all over 2 times a, which is negative 16. Okay, so then we keep going, which I don't need my calculator, so we start cleaning that up. All right. Can't remember where I paused that. All right, check that. That should have been easy to make mistakes here. That should have been negative 16 and 1, making that plus 1600, so making that 1664. Okay, so then the square root of 1664, which is a subtle difference, but it does change the problem. Equals 40.79. So this number should be 40.79. So the only answer, so if you do negative 40 plus or negative 40 minus 40.79, you get negative 80.79. You divide that by negative 32, you end up with approximately 2.5 seconds. The other problem doesn't work because if you do negative 40 plus or negative 40 plus that, you end up with a positive, and then you do a positive divided by a negative, you end up with a negative answer. So, sorry I messed that one up. But we can practice those in class as well. So, okay, so that's your assignment. If you have any questions, ask in class, and that is it.